Hello everyone, tonight we are listening for a sound older than words. You are here now lying just beneath the hush of the forest's breath. Your back rests against stone worn too smooth by time as if something small has rocked against it night after night. The moss is warm, the roots shift. And from somewhere nearby, so close it might be inside you, you hear it again. A sound that isn't quite humming and isn't quite wind. A lullaby almost. Sung not to anyone but before anyone knew what it meant to sing. It's been playing for a very long time. You probably won't survive. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I do here. Let me know where you're listening from and what time it is there. Now turn off the lights, maybe turn on the fan for some soothing noise, and let's get started tonight. The lullaby isn't melodic exactly. It doesn't rhyme. It doesn't even repeat. It drifts, but every night you come here just before your mind gives in to sleep, you begin to understand a little more of it. Some sounds you recognize, not as words, but as intents. Stay, breathe, rise, leave, turn. The syllables are buried under the language of cicadas and wind-pressed bark, but they always surface eventually, little fossils of meaning exposed by the erosion of silence. You've tried to record it, of course. The audio always comes back blank. Or worse, full of your own voice humming something you swear you've never heard before. And tonight you feel it change. The melody, not quite melody, has drawn closer. It's not outside anymore, it's underneath. One of the more curious archaeological debates surrounds what's called the Divjibab flute. A bit of ancient bear femur discovered in Slovenia, roughly 60,000 years old, with what looks like 4 evenly spaced holes. Some argue it's a Neanderthal flute, the oldest known musical instrument. Others insist the holes were made by scavenging hyena teeth, which frankly sounds like an equally haunting form of prehistoric music. Tonight it doesn't matter which side is right, because the sound you're hearing is not made by teeth or tool. It's being remembered. You crawl forward across a mat of damp leaf litter fingers, brushing curled shreds of bark and the husk of something's old nest. The forest is too quiet now. Not silent, but watching. Somewhere between your breath and the trees, the song continues. It curves gently upward and down again like a mother's hush or a frog's dreaming, but it doesn't comfort. It compels. You reach the hollow. It's not much, just a dip between old roots, a spot where the wind won't settle. But someone's been here, long ago. There are marks in the clay wall, rounded divots repeated. You count 7, not handprints, not scratches, almost like the touch of a fingertip dipped in sap. You press your own finger into one just to feel it. Behind you, something exhales. It is neither warm nor cold. It does not touch you. But you know it's there because your bones are suddenly very aware of themselves. You can hear your marrow. You'll be fine, you whisper aloud, because if you don't say something, the quiet will name you instead. Some researchers still argue whether lullabies predate language or followed it, whether humming soothed infants before we had nouns for danger and dark. In your current situation, the question feels aggressively unhelpful. You kneel, you listen, and the lullaby changes. This time it sounds like someone calling a creature that doesn't exist anymore. You think of the Lambton worm, an old English legend about a child who skipped church and went fishing instead. He caught something eel-like and ugly, tossed it down a well, and forgot it. Years later, it returned enormous and vengeful, coiled around the land and drinking cattle dry. You're not religious, but you did hum something once to a stone you shouldn't have touched. Maybe that's the same thing. A joke floats through your mind to lighten the mood. At least lullabies don't hold grudges. You're wrong. The clay under your fingers shifts, not crumbles. Shifts, as if something beneath it has noticed that you've noticed it and is considering whether to reply. You freeze. You remember to blink. Always important. You don't want to be the last face something sees. The melody is no longer separate from you. It's moving up your spine, tuning your ribs like an old lyre plucking curiosity from behind your eyes. You begin to hum it back, a low rising syllable. A drop like water from a leaf, a catch, a pause, A call. Something answers. You flinch. Not because the answer is loud, but because it matches. Exactly. Like two voices practiced in the same breath for centuries, divided only by bone and forgetfulness. And here comes joke number 2 because you need it now. You know you're in trouble when the harmonizing starts. You rise slowly. You don't step backward, that would be rude, but you let the roots know you're leaving. They seem undecided. You walk home differently tonight, as if your footsteps are trying not to wake something that never quite slept. You reach your house, you close the door, and the hum is still in your throat. You sit in bed and for a moment you consider humming it again, just to see what happens. But you don't. Not yet. Instead, you notice that one of your pillows is warmer than it should be. And when you shift it, a little dust rises into the air and spells something you don't have words for. One last joke to close out this evening. If you start understanding the lyrics, run. Too late. The lullaby waits for your breath to even. It always waits. Because it isn't a song to lull you to sleep. It's a song to keep you there. The next morning you find your voice is gone. Not hoarse, not dry, just not there. You try humming. Nothing. The shape of the hum is still in your chest like an echo, with no call, but your breath refuses to carry it. Your mouth moves, but the sound curls back down your throat as if remembering that this tune is not yours to sing in daylight. The birds are silent too. It takes you longer than it should to realize this. You walk the trail behind your home, same as always, where finches usually quarrel in the underbrush and woodpeckers stage their architectural protests. Today, nothing, not even insect drone, just the creak of branches that haven't moved. You think about returning to the hollow. You don't. You remember the warmth in the pillow, the divots in the clay, and how your ribs felt played. Instead, you walk past the forest's edge and toward the old limestone outcrop by the river. The one with the strange horizontal grooves, not natural erosion, not human cut. Some say it's from glacial scraping. Others suspect it was a xylophone for giants back when the hills were awake and fond of music. A German archaeologist once proposed that Neanderthals used naturally resonant stone surfaces as primitive instruments. Some caves even have areas where stalactites ring like bells. He called them lithophones. Most scholars said that was lovely, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Sound doesn't fossilize after all. You place your hand on the stone, curious. It is warm, but not from sunlight. There is no sun. A mist has crept in since you left the house, slow, wide, and with the confidence of a cat that knows where you keep the good chair. And in that mist, a rhythm. Not music exactly. More like a memory, humming to itself, unsure if it's alone. You step closer. The grooves in the rock are evenly spaced like ribs in something too large to bury. You tap one gently with your knuckle. The sound is dull, but your ears ring anyway. Not from the strike, but from what the silence hides. 3 little jokes rise like bubbles in your chest, unbidden. At least the stone's not singing back yet. It's not the lullaby that haunts you. It's the moment after it stops. Who needs sleep anyway? You sit. The air is cooler here. Not cold cool like memory. The mist wraps around your feet, never touching above the knees. A boundary, maybe. Or a warning. You hum again, this time in your mind. The notes arrange themselves even without voice. The rising thread, the watery drop, the pause, the call, and always the answer. Except today there is no answer. Something is listening, but it does not speak. You think about children. Not yours. You don't have any. But something in the lullaby feels aimed toward infancy. Toward the not yet named. A kindness wrapped in warning. Or vice versa. Once in an old cave in France, archaeologists found the footprint of a child walking beside a wolf. Not chased, not prey, just side by side. Some call it evidence of early domestication. Others whisper it might have been a ghost walk or a game or a pact older than pets. You wonder if lullabies began there as sound to keep a child safe through silence, or to keep something else away. You lean forward. You whisper, not words, just breath, just intention. You ask the stone, "What do you remember?" Behind you, a twig snaps. You don't turn around. You count your breaths. 1, 2, 3. On 4, the stone under your palm shifts. Not crumbles, not cracks, just repositions itself as though it misremembered how it was meant to be. That's when you hear it again. From somewhere in the mist, deep and smooth, not quite a voice, not quite a wind, the lullaby resumes. Only it's not the one you've been learning. This one is lower, slower, not meant for sleep, meant for summoning. You step back from the stone. You tell yourself you're not afraid. Lie number 1. You tell yourself it's just natural acoustics. Lie number 2. You tell yourself lullabies can't hurt you. Lie number 3 wakes something in the mist. You run, not far. Just enough to feel like you've chosen to leave. Just enough to pretend the rhythm in your heartbeat is your own. Back home, the mirrors look strange, not warped, not cracked, just off. As if they're reflecting light that hasn't arrived yet. And your bed smells faintly of clay. Later that night, when you finally lie down again, you don't try to hum, but you do dream. In the dream, you are in a cave that was never carved. The walls are smooth with the passing of something soft and ritual-bound. Around you, small shapes shuffle, neither children nor adults, faceless and patient. One reaches up to touch your chest. Not your heart, your voice. It hums once. You understand nothing, but you remember everything. You wake to find a small, round imprint in your pillow. Not a hand, not a claw, just the memory of something that once needed a lullaby and now remembers who sang it. The next day, you leave the window open. You say it's for the air, but really it's to let something in if it chooses to come. And something does. Not a creature, not even a sound. Just a rhythm faint and stubborn that the breeze brings in like an old thread snagged on the trees. It lands on your kitchen table. You find it in the dust. Perfect circles. 7 of them. The same number as the clay hollows in the forest. They weren't left there by your finger. Today, you don't go to the stone or the hollow. You go somewhere older. The marsh. It's less dramatic than it sounds, just a low patch of moss and sedge where water never drains fully. But you know the stories. Everyone does. When people stopped burying their dead in caves, they buried them in bogs. The peat preserved them. Skin like leather. Fingernails intact, eyes collapsed inward like whispers trying to hide. One of the most famous bog bodies, a young girl found in Denmark, still had her hair in braids after 2,000 years. Some say she was sacrificed. Others say she was an outcast returned to the earth in secret. You wonder if anyone ever sang to her. You reach the marsh just before dusk. The air is full of flies, but they don't touch you. The frogs don't speak. Even the reeds seem to be holding their breath, their long, thin bodies tuned to something below. You kneel. Your knees sink slightly. The moss adjusts as if recognizing you. You press your hand down. It comes back wet, but not from water, from warmth. And from somewhere under the surface, a song begins, not in your ears this time, but in your bones. The vibration is dull, like heartbeat against stone. It reminds you of the feeling just before thunder, when your skin seems to lean forward on its own. You look down and see a ripple in the mud. Then another, a pattern. Something is humming back. You whisper aloud, "I don't know the words." The ripple stops. You try again, this time without speech. Just thought, just rhythm. You let the lullaby inside your mind stretch and fold like a hand settling into water. This time the ripple resumes. Then a bubble rises from the mud. Not large, not foul, just one perfect breath exhaled by something waiting far too long. You don't move. The sun vanishes entirely now. The reeds tremble, but not with wind, with agreement. Somewhere nearby, a heron lifts off without warning. You hear the beat of its wings, then silence again, as if even the sky has begun to hesitate. And from beneath you, the lullaby rises. It is clearer than ever, still wordless, but no longer directionless. It's a map, and it's drawing you inward. 3 uneasy jokes float to mind. At least the map doesn't come with step-by-step instructions. Technically, this still counts as self-care. You hum to the earth long enough it starts to answer back. The ground softens. Your foot slips. You catch yourself. But your hand lands on something beneath the moss, something smooth. Not stone, not bone. Shell. You brush away the muck. Just enough to see the edge of a spiral. Carved, ancient, not snail, not turtle, a pattern too large for the creature it might have belonged to. You lift it. It weighs more than expected. Not heavy, just full, as if the lullaby was wound up inside it. And as you tilt it slightly, you hear it play. Not aloud, not with air, but with memory. Once in the Chauvet cave in France, researchers found ochre handprints beside animal paintings dated over 30,000 years ago. One wall in particular showed a lioness with her mouth open, not roaring but breathing. The handprints beside it belonged to a child, small, repeated, as if the child had stood there, often whispering something to the animal again and again. Some scholars say it was art. Others say it was storytelling. A few believe it was music. You think it might have been a lullaby. You bring the spiral shell to your ear. No ocean sound, just breath, not yours. You hum once barely. The shell warms. The reeds around you bow slightly. Not from wind, but from hearing. You are no longer alone here. You rise, slowly, carefully, like a sleepwalker afraid of waking the world. You do not take the shell with you. You set it down on the moss exactly as you found it and say nothing. The shell doesn't move, but it knows you've heard it now, and you know what it wants. You return home under a sky with no stars. The clouds aren't thick. The sky just isn't showing itself. Inside your house hums gently. Not appliances, not pipes, just hums. Your reflection in the window doesn't hum back. You lie in bed. You close your eyes. And from the base of your spine to the roof of your skull, the lullaby unfolds. This time it carries a memory not your own. A child deep beneath stone rocking gently in a cradle of earth and breath. Above them, no language, only the lullaby. And a voice saying, "Don't forget me, even if you never knew me." You don't wake up. You arrive at morning. There's a difference. The world doesn't feel new, only slightly less echoing. Like a cave you've been sleeping in for centuries where the rock remembers your weight. Your throat aches not from illness but from effort. You've been humming in your sleep again. You find a smear of moss on your pillow. It's shaped like a spiral. You try to clean it, but it doesn't come off. Not really. The green stain stays, the shape remains. You tell yourself it's just damp from yesterday's walk, but you haven't been outside yet today. Not physically. You feel watched, not by eyes, but by waiting. You make tea. The cup hums faintly as you set it down. You hum back without thinking. This time the reply comes instantly, from the floor. You stare down at the wooden boards. The sound isn't loud. It's patient. A low, breathy rhythm like the settling of bones in warm clay. You listen. You kneel. You press your ear to the floorboards and hear it clearly now, a lullaby being sung in reverse. No words, just breath pulled away from the world. You whisper, "What do you want?" The answer rises like fog through your ribs. To be remembered. Outside, a crow lands on your windowsill and stares in. Not curious, not hostile, just noting, as if it's been assigned to watch your progress. You nod at it. It doesn't nod back. You decide to return to the hollow. The forest is louder today, not with birds or mammals, but with rustles. Every tree seems to be combing the wind with its branches, as if trying to part it, as if trying to hear something inside it. The roots at the hollow's edge look different, polished. You kneel once more and the 7 clay divots are deeper now. They gleam slightly, like they have been used recently. Someone has been humming here, and not just you. You place your fingers in the first 2. The clay is warm. You place your palm across all 7. The ground does not move this time, but your breath does. It leaves you entirely, not violently, not like drowning, more like a transfer, like your breath has been picked up, cupped, and carried into the soil. You don't panic. You wait, and the lullaby begins again, but this time it's inside a chamber, a vast dark space. Not real. Not imagined, someplace between. You feel walls near you but never close. The air is thick but gentle, and something in that space begins to hum back. A child, but not a human one. Too large, too still, too old. It sings not in need but in reminder. Once during an excavation in Syria, archaeologists uncovered a clay tablet inscribed with what might be the oldest recorded lullaby written in cuneiform. It warned a child not to cry lest demons come. Not very soothing, but perhaps honest. Some lullabies aren't for comfort, they're for keeping quiet. You wonder what yours is for? The child in the chamber stops humming. You feel something tap the base of your skull inside your mind, not your body. A request. It wants to see. You close your eyes. You offer a memory. Any memory. The first time you heard a lullaby. The one your grandmother hummed to her garden. The rhythm you used to keep ants away from your books. The tune you found yourself humming when your thoughts grew too loud. The chamber accepts it. You feel warmth again. Then a second tap. This one comes from below. You open your eyes and realize you are not alone at the hollow. There's someone across from you, kneeling. You blink. They blink. You look identical, but they are not breathing. Their mouth moves slowly, shaping the lullaby, but backward, unmaking it, unsleeping something. You whisper the tune aloud. Your voice is back. It trembles, but it holds. The figure watches, then nods, and collapses into dust. Not wind-blown, just released. You sit alone again. The clay is cold now. The roots are still. You stand. And as you walk home, the trees part slightly, not out of respect, but out of recognition. Whatever was watching has shifted. Not left. Just repositioned. Like the memory of a tune that's finally found its end. You sleep that night without dreaming. And in the morning, there's a small clay tablet on your doorstep. No writing. Just 7 circular divots. You smile because joke number 1 is already forming. At least it's not a mixtape. But you don't laugh. You hum. And this time the world hums back. Tonight, the forest is waiting for your voice. The lullaby no longer hums in the distance. It lives in your bones now, in the pause between each breath. You've stopped trying to record it. You don't write it down. You've accepted what it is, not a tune, but a tether. And now it wants to finish. There is a feeling that comes before sleep. You know it well. That slow dissolve of the edges of thought, the gentle unspooling of reason. That's what the lullaby is. A thread tugging you downward, not to rest, but to return. You don't go to the hollow. You don't go to the marsh. You go beneath your house. There is no basement. But there is a space. Narrow, damp, and full of things left behind by people who didn't know what they were storing. You crawl under. The dirt here is fine-grained and dark and oddly warm. The air is so still it feels intentional. You dig without tools, not far. Just enough. The earth yields quickly, like it's been waiting. And there it is. A small stone polished to a shine no hand could have made. Etched with a spiral again, but this time a double spiral. Like breath looping back into itself. You touch it. And the lullaby ends. No sound, no echo, no resonance. Just silence. The kind that leaves an imprint. You don't panic, you listen. And from behind you, inside you, you hear a child's voice. It doesn't speak, it offers a memory. Not yours. You see hands dipping into river mud. Small hands. Repeating a pattern into the bank. Pressing hollows into the clay before there was a name for hollow. Before the word child even knew how to be spoken. You feel the warmth of an ancient sleep, the kind that keeps something safe not from danger but from forgetting. And then the lullaby resumes, but for the last time. It folds around you gently. It thanks you. Somewhere far above, a crow caws once and then is silent forever. In 2013, archaeologists in Russia uncovered an infant burial site from over 30,000 years ago. The child was buried with thousands of ivory beads, a pendant and care, as if someone had sung to them even after death. The lullaby, perhaps, is older than mourning. You place the double spiraled stone in your lap. The final 3 jokes arrive quiet and inevitable. Well, if you vanish, at least you'll do it musically. Technically, this counts as ancient childcare. Congratulations, you've become someone's bedtime story. You hum the lullaby one last time. You don't sleep. You dissolve. Poetic ending. In the soil where your knees once bent, moss now grows in circles. The lullaby no longer needs to be sung. It lingers in tree rings, in the breath of hollow reeds, in the silence just before a child wakes for no reason. You are not a ghost. You are not a myth. You are the hum beneath the floorboards. You are the hush before the thunder. You are the song that came before language and stayed long after it forgot how to say home. Somewhere a cradle rocks without hands. Somewhere a child falls asleep to a tune they do not know. And somewhere just beneath the surface, something thanks you for remembering what was never meant to be learned.